Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips a balance in favor of fair use. Okay, you guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my observations regarding Schthe Tleppo, Chapter 4. It's kind of weird because I'm going to be commenting on my narration and the goings-on of the book, the goings-on in Nathan Rich's life. And I kind of wanted to talk about it when I was reading it, but I thought that's going to go too far off topic. So here we go. Schthe Tleppo by Nathan Rich, Chapter 4. Maddie and I were in the dorm when I spotted a cigarette under the large wooden cable spool we used as a table. When I was 2 years old, my mother let me try smoking. I wanted to try it again. Isn't that great that his mother let him to try smoking when he was 2? We found some matches nearby and smoked half of the cigarette before stamping it out. Lightheaded and dizzy, no one else was around, so we were sure we had gotten away with it. But the next muster, there was a KR on us. Can you imagine living like this? Also, too, I want to add, isn't it great that 6 and 7-year-old children are going to muster? And this is going on right now. It's not just the past. This is going on right now. In fact, the L. Ron Hubbard policies are what create all of this. And people blindly going along like sheep are what allow the abuse of children to continue, as well as a lot of participation in the abuse of children. Maddie and Nathan were smoking in the dormitory. I smelled the smoke on them. While I sat back a little bit on the couch, playing with fire, he said. 3 paddles. And again, I'm going to give you guys a trigger alert because I'm not sure what's coming. I cried out, playing with fire. We weren't. Playing with fire, Wally yelled. This makes me sad because this poor child got dropped off by his mother. Nobody to care for him. Nobody's protecting him. The Hemet police are not protecting him. His father's nowhere to be found. All the prestigious executives of Scientology sure as heck are not protecting this child. He has no one. See how they manipulate? Don't make it worse for yourself. We can do 5 paddles. Okay, I said while my eyes wandered and then locked on Lafayette's picture, smiling down on the room. Scott, the Board of Justice. Do you guys think for a minute that this creep Wally Hanks believed in any of the L. Ron Hubbard stuff? Not at all. He simply was an abuser, and he found a way and a platform to abuse the children. And you know who was fine with that? David Miscavige was fine with that. Mike Rinder was fine with that. Marty Rathburn was fine with that. Karen, what's her name? Karen in Florida. They're all fine. They enjoy abusing children. And they will utilize and quote L. Ron Hubbard policies that endorse and promote abuse of children. And the people that are just standing around watching are complicit in the child abuse if they are not participating themselves. He requested, holding his right hand out. By the way, you guys, this is a sign of a sadist. You're first, Nathan. Come on. The room was silent. Scott walked to the wall and pulled down the paddle. Come on, Wally said, pointing at the ottoman before him. Murphy added, bend over, dude. I bent over the ottoman and reached my arms out to its corners. The room was still quiet when Wally got up from the couch. All this humiliation. And also because Wally, good old Wally Hanks, was a pedophile. He looked at these boys as competition for the other girls. Isn't that great? And all of these parents just gave up their children. They didn't care. I know that's harsh to hear, but you don't just give up your children if you really, truly care about them. By then holding the paddle. All right, Nathan. I want you to look at the picture of LRH. Looking at him, he said. I raised my head and locked eyes again with Lafayette's picture. You are a liability to this group. And you're being out ethics. That's at hive mind. Imagine that this is going on right now. You know who is okay with children being out ethics? LAPD's okay with that. Hemet police are okay with that. The FBI is okay with that. Homeland Security is okay with that. Board of Education is okay with that. Immigration and Naturalization Services are okay with children being punished, thrown around, whipped, not going to school, not getting educated, being used for manual labor, being sexually abused, physically neglected, physically abused, and nobody does anything about it. Added as he walked behind me, is this really happening? Gotta get some water. How do they think they can get away with this? I'm going to tell my mom. You need to be penalized. I also thought that was so sad. I don't know his mother well, but it seems to me like she didn't care about her son. That's what it seems like. And you need to make amends. Wally added. Your penalty is 3 paddles carried out immediately. If you move, Scott is going to hold you down, and you aren't going to like that. Do you understand? I'm trying not to interject, you guys, but it just upsets me. They can't even fight fair. I nodded. I don't have any words left. I don't like doing this, you know that, he said. What does he mean he doesn't like? Also, too, I really do wonder how old Nathan Rich was here and how big was he? Was he like 11 years old and 90 pounds? It's so reprehensible. And yet, some of these fake, prestigious executives keep trying to tell people that Scientology doesn't have children anymore. Whatever. Thwack! The sound waves pummeled my eardrums, and I found myself suddenly standing up straight, holding my butt with my hands. Scott! Wally barked. Scott silently sprung up from the seated position. If you're not going to stay still, Wally warned me. I bent over and looked up at Lafayette. They want me to cry, but I'm not going to. I only have 2 more to go. Thwack! The force pushed my chest first onto the ottoman. God damn, how did I get here? I got back into position. My behind was throbbing. How much more Scientology do I have to do for my mom? Thwack! That also makes me sad that he's saying that. I was back on the ottoman. My butt was numb, but my coccyx was in major pain. I looked back at Wally. There were tears in my eyes, but I didn't cry. Well, all right, he said. You know that lowlife scumbag was just sitting on his couch waiting for a reason to beat the children. Because these kinds of psychopaths, the way they regulate their emotions, because they don't really have emotions the way we do, they need somewhere to blow steam off. So what he was doing was using the children for that. Just waiting for something. Getting off on the KRs, which is it's also unnatural. So it really bothers me, the parents that just drop their children off to be with these psychopaths. I don't want to hear anything more about you playing with fire, he added. I don't like doing this. You know that, Scott. That's at mine. And I did comment on it. I said it's the mind F, but it's that gaslighting. Don't you know how much this hurts me? Parents that are abusive, they say that just to confuse you. Or guardians, whomever it is. F. Yeah, Scott quietly concurred. I crumpled into the couch, holding my butt with both hands. You're gonna need to do your liability condition, too, son. You see this? Children doing liability conditions. And I don't want to keep repeating myself, but all these agencies are completely fine with all this. Children doing liability conditions instead of going to school and learning really good subjects. And what hurts me the most is these children are not getting any love. That is the most heartbreaking part to me of all of this. He swore he was still in the military. I knew what that meant, a written apology to the group. Followed by asking for forgiveness. I'm not your son. I didn't say anything. You're a bad child. Most months my mother visited me, and a few days before, she did. Punishment for KRs became more relaxed, and staff wrote commendations on me. Preparation for a parent's visit was a ritual. They don't want him to see the bruises. Also, it's kind of like grooming too, in a sense. Because they know that abusing the children is wrong. And this is also where you know how many of these adults knew what was going on. Because there were no checks and balances. None. No checks and balances. So they knew what was going on. And they were okay with it. I personally don't want to hear the excuses anymore. And the parents in Scientology doing this right now, they need to be held accountable, as well as these other adults in Scientology that are abusing children right now in real time, right now, as we speak. LAPD, Hemet Police, Clearwater Police. The first time she arrived, I took her around to check out the place. I was thrilled to finally see her, but Wally was tagging along with us. That's because he's handling. I told her I want to go home, but she wasn't interested. Does that sound like a mother that cares? You can probably leave next month. Nay, if your ethics are in. This was her new... Also, I want to add, and I'm not talking to you guys like as if you don't know this. I mean, you're all some smart people. But I just want to give my commentary on, even though I sound like a frog today, is that I just feel like I have some good observations. And it really bothers me that all these children have to perform like circus monkeys. And any kind of love or compassion that they do see is conditional. I know some of the Scientology parents are not as abusive, I know that. But the children that get the more abusive, more narcissistic kind of parents, everything that they do is performative. And I think even Reese Cabell talked about what she went through when she was living at home by herself. Well, her father was there, but he was so mean to her. It's just the most heartbreaking thing ever in the whole world. Catchphrase, it turned out. 2 weeks after I played with fire, she returned. We sat at Wally's desk while we spoke. Mom, I want to go home, I pleaded. Well, Nay, I need to talk to Wally about that, she replied. She just handed him over. Makes me sick. Mom, they hit me. They hit me with a paddle. I want to go home, I'm sorry. My eyes were watering as I tried to maintain. Before she could respond, Wally chimed in. He got the Board of Justice for playing with fire. No, I wasn't playing with fire. I just smoked a cigarette, I countered, looking at him. I looked at my mom with beggar's eyes. Go on, let me talk to Wally, she said. That's another heartbreak right there. And throughout the chapter, then it just goes on to, he talks about how he goes to his dark place. And I don't even know if I'm going to continue just because my voice is just not so great today. But I just wanted to kind of touch on that. And what hurts me the most is these children, a lot of them did not have any love. And they were so used. Oh, what's the gal's name? Debbie Cook. All about abusing the children. And what is her punishment? She gets paid millions of dollars, goes to the Caribbean, comes back to America. Meanwhile, all these children are continually being abused, and nobody does anything about it. Judges don't do anything about it. Police don't do anything about it. FBI doesn't do anything about it. IRS doesn't do anything about it. Immigration services don't do anything about it. Sheriffs don't do anything about it. Other citizens don't do anything about it. Teachers don't do anything about it. Nobody. And there are the people that do try to help. Like, they can't get the children out. It's like a lot of these children just simply need to be taken away from the parents. That's a fact. I know people won't like me saying it. It's just the real deal. Perhaps, find a relative that's more compassionate that could take care of the children. That's the fact.